Mr. President, right honourable and honourable gentlemen, gallant officers of the military, there's an awful lot of fighters in here. Have you noticed? They're all ready to fight. I would have opposed this motion in 1933 for the reasons adumbrated by my colleagues in their opening speeches. In fact, I would have been the first in the queue at the recruiting office had I been alive to fight fascism. Indeed, I would have been agitating to fight fascism in Spain 3 years before the Second World War. In 1936, both of my grandfathers fought fascism under Montgomery, all the way from El Alamein to Monte Cassino. I'm a former boy soldier, Lance Bombardier, Royal Artillery, Battery 2, Army Cadet Force. I'm a former cadet in the Royal Marines at Poole in Dorset. I'm not a pacifist. In fact, I'll go 5 rounds with Tobias Ellwood after the debate if he's up for it. And I'm twice his age. But the people on the other side arguing against this motion have already damned most of the wars that I came here to oppose. You even opposed the First World War, and the Afghan War, and the Iraq War. Tobias Ellwood tells us he opposed the Iraq War. I missed that when I was leading the fight against it. But I'm delighted that nowadays you cannot find anyone who will support these wars that our politicians gave us in this 21st century. You are quite wrong, yes.
With successful military interventions such as in Kosovo and Sierra Leone, do you not agree that it is possible to have successful humanitarian military interventions?
No, I don't agree with the intervention in either of those cases. A better case could have been made for the Falklands. An intervention I did support. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Because that was a direct attack on British people, British citizens. And I supported it. But the examples you give are not good ones. I'm sorry I gave way to you. I'm not going to dwell on the king. It's just as well he's got a divine right to be king, because nobody would ever have picked him, least of all his own family. On this day, in 1649, on this day, the Rump Parliament, a better parliament than we have today, passed the following motion: the office of a king in this land is unnecessary, burdensome, and dangerous to the life and liberty and public interest of the people of this nation. I wish the Parliament would pass that motion today. I'm not going to dwell on the king, for it would be an absurdity, as has been acknowledged here, that because King Charles tells you you've got to go and fight and die in a war, you're going to do it. Utterly absurd. So let's turn to country. Who is the country? What is the country? Who are you going to fight for? Rishi Sunak? You upbraided the lack of height of my colleague. Have you seen Rishi Sunak? In fact, if you put Zelensky on Sunak's shoulders, you still wouldn't even get a Napoleon. These are small men. Are you really going to follow? Give them a blank check. Yes, I'll fight for you, Rishi Sunak. You only have to roll the name. Or his predecessor. What was her name? Liz Truss. Are you telling me that if Liz Truss said you had to go to war and die, you'd do it because she was the Prime Minister? Tony Blair. Tony Blair, yes, I knew you were an idiot from the sunglasses that you are wearing. Tony Blair, anyone? Tony Blair, anyone? Who caused the death of 1 million people and counting, who cascaded fanatic Islamist extremism around the world. You called them spores, the murder cult of ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the head-chopping throat cutters, the 1 million dead Iraqis, and you want to do it all again by signing a blank check to Tobias Ellwood? He told you, did you notice the word that the caveat that he slipped in for you? There's no conscription yet, he said. Did you notice it? He was on television less than 2 weeks ago calling for martial law to be introduced in this country, in which case I saw your lips move on Sky News. I saw your lips move on Sky News. And if we had martial law, we wouldn't be having this debate. And it might not be long before you can take off your fur hat and put on a tin one and go off to fight and die on the question of whether Kupiansk is on one side of a line when it's been in 4 different countries in the last 100 years. You ready to die for that? Because I'm not. And I'm not ready, for sure, to give a blank check to politicians to command my loyalty. My loyalty is to God, to my religion. I believe in St. Thomas Aquinas' concept of the just war. I'll fight in a just war. If somebody attacks us, I'll fight them, getting on in years as I am. I'll tell my son to go and fight them, all of my sons, all of my daughters, for a just cause. But you're not fighting for a just cause if you sign up to the concept that you will fight for king and country, because that's an unqualified commitment that you are making. My colleague was mocked for pointing out that there are circumstances in which, what does that bell mean, by the way? Some people have spoken for 20 minutes. She pointed out there are circumstances in which we would fight. Now, I saved this last bit for little Ben Wallace, who I was told was coming here tonight. And frankly, he's the only reason I'm here, and he didn't show up. You're going to fight with what? With what? You said I'd attack Tommy Atkins. I never have. I attack the donkeys that exploit the lives and limbs of the lions that they send into these wars. You will never hear me attack an individual British soldier. Far from it. I'm one of the volunteers of Jim Davidson's Care After Combat, looking after people that have been abandoned by the politicians that gaily sent them into war. Where is Tommy Atkins? He's on the streets with the homeless people. Where is Tommy Atkins? He's in the mental health hospital, damaged and abandoned by those that sent him into war. Where is Tommy Atkins? He's disproportionately in the prison system and not as a warder. Where is Tommy Atkins? He's disproportionately hooked on drugs. He's in Piccadilly Gardens in Manchester. I've picked him up myself, hooked on fentanyl and all these new opioids. That's what Tommy Atkins ends up doing in Tory Britain. They send these men off to war filled with their fake patriotism, king and country, straw hats and trumpets. And when they come back, they have no use for them. They leave them to rot on the streets without houses, jobs, futures, hope. So don't come here and wave your flags at me. Don't come here and sound the tinny brass trumpet of your patriotism. Yes, we will fight for the working people of this country. Yes, we will fight for the good things about our way of life. By the way, when did you fall out of love with using armed force to take territory? We control 25% of the entire world's surface and ruled 1/3 of the people of the world under our flag. All of it taken by armed conquest. All of those people held in subjugation by the British Empire, and now they want to parade as if they were Boy Scouts that oppose the acquisition of other people's territory by force. These hypocrites. Robert Burns, my national poet, put it this way in an ode on the occasion of a national thanksgiving. Ye hypocrites, are these your pranks, to murder men and gie God thanks? Halt, desist, go nae further. God'll no accept your thanks for murder. I move.